My memories of my dad have always been of him at the Repat Hospital.
He had been to war.
You think about it now and I suppose they'd all be diagnosed with PTSD, but then it was just, oh, he's been to the war,
He was Dad and you respected the fact that he was Dad.
Born at the tail end of the First World War, Patrick Campbell, known by most as Paddy, grew up in Dorcas Street in South Melbourne. He loved football and was a local champion at South Melbourne Cycling Club. When the Second World War broke out, Paddy, like thousands of other young men, answered the call.
He enlisted in 7th of June in 1940 and he was discharged 20th of December 45. He was part of the 2nd 9th Field Ambulance Group and sadly most of that time was spent in Changi as a prisoner of war.
Life in the Changi prisoner of war camp was notoriously difficult. Paddy rarely spoke of the hardships he endured, but later in life his children would learn of their father's proud experience playing for Richmond in the Changi Football League. After his release from Changi, Paddy returned to Melbourne and found work as an orderly at Heidelberg Repatriation Hospital. He met and fell in love with Frances Kidston, and after a short courtship, the couple were married in February of 1946. Supported by their extended families, Paddy and Frances had 5 children. But over time, Paddy's wartime trauma began to surface and impact the young family.
He wasn't well. He was suffering from the atrocities and everything that he'd seen. He was becoming more and more dependent on drugs, painkillers and alcohol, and often had fits.
And that was from the war, like from his time in Changi. And then he had one where he hit his head and it caused him to have a blood clot on the brain. He went to have the blood clot removed and they took a piece of his brain out and he had a soft spot on his head. And that's when his memory was gone and he couldn't feel pain, so you wouldn't know if he was in pain, and that's when they'd said that, there's no way he could come back home and live at home.
Paddy was initially sent to Heidelberg Repatriation Hospital, but Frances wasn't happy with the treatment he received there. The family appealed to Dr. John Cade, who had been a POW in Changi with Paddy, and had since taken up the position as psychiatrist at Bundoora Repatriation Hospital. Soon after, Paddy was moved to Bundoora, which is where he remained.
Mum wouldn't let us go down to the door. She didn't want us to see the ward because Mum saw it as an asylum and the people sitting around were just what she described as First World War zombies that nobody had looked after or cared about.
We were lucky to have great support in our family. We had aunties and uncles and even cousins who were help in seeing that Dad didn't just pine away here, and we had the pleasure of him for 21 years, not in the best of circumstances, but we had him.
Frances was champion and advocate for her husband's care and well-being, all the while supporting their 5 children.
As the mother, she played both roles, really. She was sort of a mother and father. She was the architect behind the family. She was just a wonderful lady.
She was very accepting of what cards are dealt to you in life, and she was always thinking of other people and never really of herself. But we didn't really see that growing up because you just accepted it. It's only later in life when you reflect back and you think of all the things that she did go without and give up.
This is Paddy's story, but it is also a story about the hidden casualties of war and the ripple effect that war service has not only on the men and women who return, but also on the people who love them.
I think war's a huge cost to everybody, a whole generation of men that lost their youth.
He was deprived of so much. There was so much being a parent. and a grandparent that he didn't get. He just didn't get to enjoy it.
We all became stronger people, I think, and even Mum, you know, much stronger than what she probably was.
In a bizarre sort of way, I'm grateful to him because he made me aware of being a good, or wanted to be a good parent and a grandparent, and what a grandparent should be.
I think it needs to be recorded so that people don't forget.
And you hope that everybody's life improves from all of the things that come from the past.
The legacy of Paddy's sacrifice lives on through his children and the generations that followed.